34-year-old maintenance man Dale Beauchamp is suing his former friend, 32-year-old Amy Rubino, for an unpaid loan. Amy says the money wasn't a loan until she turned down his proposal for marriage. She is countersuing for harassment.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 435 on the calendar in the matter of Beauchamp versus Rubino. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Beauchamp, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were friends. And beginning sometime in 1999, you started to make a series of small loans to the defendant. In total, you say $500. Friendship terminated, and you want your money.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says that no time did she borrow $500 from you. She said that she only borrowed $200, but because of the stress that you put her through, she doesn't owe you anything and is counterclaiming for that stress in the amount of $500. What kind of loans, Mr. Beauchamp?
I loaned Miss Rubino a total of $500 from October through December of 1999. The first time she asked me to borrow $100 for her dog. I guess he needed some care or something, so I did loan her the $100. On the second occasion, she had a bed on layaway at a furniture store, and she was about $100 short for that. I did offer to loan her the money for that. And she had wrote a series of bad checks at a bar in Omaha, and she needed to borrow some money to cover those checks, and I did loan that to her.
How much?
The total came to about $500.
No. Not what I asked you. You say the total. This is a court, sir.
Yes.
$100 for the dog, $100 for the bed. How much was the third loan, sir?
That would have been the amount of about $120.
What else?
And then the next loan, the final loan, would have been to, again, cover checks in her checking account. And
That's
that total,
not true.
Just a minute.
And that came to a total of about $500.
Mr. Beauchamp, so far you haven't established to my satisfaction that you loaned her any money. Because when somebody comes to court, they have dates. They say, on such and such a date, I made a loan in the amount of $100. 2 days later, a week later, I made a loan of another $100. Then you don't tell me it was about $120. And after that, well, all of them totaled $500. You have no clue. You should keep a record of when you lend somebody money.
I do have a letter in my possession that she had sent to me
Then let me see
in November.
it, sir.
Okay.
Maybe that will help me.
It's a letter written by Miss Rubino.
Ah, so you acknowledge you owed him $500.
That was before I said that to basically get him off my back.
No.
That's
Listen to
true.
me. Listen to me.
Yes, I did it one time. I no longer feel that way. Well, no,
This
and there's
was only a
reasons.
few months ago, madam. A few months ago, you wrote what I consider a straightforward letter indicating that you had been friends with the plaintiff,
yes.
that clearly in your mind he wanted more than just a friendship. You were not interested in anything more than a friendship.
True.
And that you felt as if because of the way he feels, do I look as if I need help? Because of the way he feels, you shouldn't even continue with a friendship. Pretty straightforward letter and put very well. I have your name, address, etc., and will begin paying you the monies owed, $500, as soon as I am financially able. Thank you for your helping me as I was desperate. Okay. You should keep better notes, Mr. Beauchamp. It would make my life much easier. You're just lucky that you have this letter. Otherwise, you'd be out of luck.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. I'm listening.
I do feel that I owe him $100 for my dog's situation. I do have a pet.
No, listen to me.
I borrowed that.
Shh,
Okay.
listen to me. November 11th of the year 2000, you wrote him this letter acknowledging a debt in the amount of $500. Tell me what happened after November 11th of the year 2000 that you believe vitiates, does away with the debt.
I think that letter is dated November 17th. The reason I'm pointing that out is my birthday was on November 12th.
November 11th.
Okay.
17th is a 1-7. This is a 1-1.
Okay, well, I know I wrote that right after my birthday in which he proposed to me. When I said no, all of a sudden he was suing me for $500. Now I want to say, for one thing, had I just gone with him and made him happy or whatever by marrying him, it was just understood I would owe him no money. You know, we'd be the best of friends and there would be no problems. I won't go all into it, but he kind of thinks everything revolves around money, every emotion, everything. and I cannot be
Right
bought.
now, that's what it's all about, madam. I'm not here thinking about your emotions.
I know.
I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, therapist, counselor, or anything else.
Okay.
I'm here talking about money.
Okay.
On the 11th of November of the
Yes.
year 2000, you acknowledged a debt to him in the amount of $500. I want you to explain to me, after November 11th, did you pay him? Did you pay him back?
No.
Did you have a conversation with him where he said, I am forgiving the loan?
Okay, the $100 loan?
The $500 loan.
No.
So now you tell me why you don't owe him the money.
I do not any longer feel like I owe him any money because he has stalked me, showed up at family functions, and sang love songs to me when I never even invited him. He has embarrassed me, told lies, very personal lies to my sister, to my family, that have been humiliating. We always were just friends, but because he wanted it to be more, he kind of painted this picture to everyone around us.
When did you realize he wanted it to be more?
Oh, about 3 or 4 months into the relationship. I wasn't sure, but after I kept reiterating that we were just friends, about 3 or 4 months, I kind of thought, well, there might not be any talking him into just being friends.
After that, did you take any money from him?
After that,
Yeah.
no, I didn't take any money from him, but we would go out to shopping
Just a
malls.
second.
We would go out. Okay.
Just a second. When did you first meet her?
I first met her in April of 1999.
And these loans didn't begin until October of 1999.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
So if you say that you knew within the first 3 months, you
I wasn't
started
positive.
taking money
All right.
well after you knew that he cared for you in a different way than you cared for him.
I wasn't positive, Your Honor. I just had a gut feeling that there was no talking him out of just being friends, and he wanted more out of the friendship. I wasn't
Then
positive.
you should have written
but
this letter a long time ago and not compounded your foolishness by taking money from him. Bird, look at the second hand on your watch. The defendant has 30 seconds to tell me about her counterclaim.
I do honestly believe that because on the basis of 2 factors that I do not owe Mr. Beauchamp.
I'm talking
$500.
about your counterclaim, madam, and you're wasting time.
Okay. The reason is because I encouraged my dad to hire him for at least $1,200 of projects. My dad would ask me-
Counterclaim.
Well, this is the $500. This is relating to.
He's going to get the $500, madam. Now I'm talking about your counterclaim.
Okay.
You have a counterclaim for harassment.
Okay.
Mental anguish.
Your Honor, may I speak?
No,
wait,
I didn't
this
ask you a
is-
question. Sit down.
Judge, 30 seconds is up.
Maybe
Okay,
she
well-
didn't understand.
Okay.
So we'll
I
give her
didn't
another 30
understand, I'm
seconds. Counterclaim.
Okay.
Stress.
The emotional distress
Yeah.
was basically him harassing me, stalking me, lying about us having a personal relationship, an intimate relationship when we never did, and
You don't get paid
the
for
mental
that.
distress.
You don't
I
get
went
paid
to a
for that.
psychiatrist over it.
Maybe if you had terminated your friendship with him when you first had a clue, madam, that he was becoming more emotionally involved with you than you were with him, then you wouldn't be seeing a psychiatrist right now. So I'm dismissing your counterclaim. On your claim, sir, I find that she has acknowledged the debt. She has not paid the debt. You have not forgiven the debt. You are entitled to your money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
What's he gonna be, Mr. Beauchamp or Mr. Beauchamp?
I don't have great animosity towards him as long as he stays at least 200 feet away from me at all times.
Honestly, I have no hard feelings towards her at all, and I promise I'll stay with her.
And now the next case.
All parties on Harrelson versus Stracker. Step forward, please.
59-year-old corporate president Seth Harrelson is suing 53-year-old Shirley Stracker and her husband William. Seth says the Strackers' 17-year-old son Jonathan wrecked his daughter's car.
All right, Mr. Harrelson, this is your daughter, I assume?
Yes, Your Honor.
She's 16,
Yes, she is.
and you purchased a car for her.
We actually leased the car for her. We put the down payment for her, and she makes the payments.
And according to your complaint, there came a time when your daughter was out with her new car. You can stand up here with your father. And the defendant's son was there, and he asked if he could drive the car, right?
Correct.
And you said okay.
After asking him if he had a license.
You asked him if he had a license. He said yes,
Yes, Your Honor.
and you let him drive the car.
Yes, Your Honor.
He had an accident, and you want the defendants to pay for all of the unreimbursed expenses that your insurance didn't cover. Mr. and Mrs. Stracker say they didn't have the confidence in their son to let him take driver's ed, to let him have a driver's license. They told him they did not want him to drive yet, and that they should not be held responsible because your daughter let him drive the car. It's a very interesting scenario. Why don't you stand up, sir? Did you and your dad ever have a conversation about letting any of your friends drive your car?
I believe so.
Of course you did. I mean, that sounds normal.
That
Right?
car was for her use only.
Right. So why did you let him drive the car?
Because at the time I was tired and my boyfriend was going to drive the car, but he asked and offered if he could drive, and so I agreed.
Well, did you have your father's permission to let your boyfriend drive the car?
No.
I assume that your boyfriend has driven the car before,
Yes.
without your parents' permission.
Yes.
You didn't know that anybody else was driving this car, I assume.
Wasn't aware of it.
I'm sure. I've had kids of my own who were 16, who I had this discussion with 5 times over.
But we know nothing until after it happens, and then we get smarter.
Right. Tell me about the accident.
We were coming down the street, and upon making a right turn, he stopped in the middle of the lane because he almost missed the street he was supposed to turn right on. And he went to make the right turn, but he made it too late. He pulled into the opposing traffic lane. An oncoming car was coming. He jerked the wheel to the right. He hit off of a curb. The impact from the curb sent us all the way across the other side of the street onto another curb, a lawn, and into a bush, which stopped us from hitting the fence.
What happened when your father found out that he was driving the car?
He was angry. I was grounded for a while.
Now, when did your son turn 16?
July 16th.
Did he ask you to take driver's ed and all that other stuff that kids ask you to take?
Well, I don't recall if he asked me, but I had planned on letting him take it later on, you know, but not now.
Why?
Well, I have 4 sons, and my 3 older ones, I did not allow them to get a car or get their license until they were able to pay for their own car, their own insurance. So, and this was just the rules, so that was the way I was going to have it with them also.
Did you tell him that?
Well, he knew that. Yeah, I've told him that.
What's your first name?
Jonathan.
So you never took driver's ed?
No.
So tell me why you asked Lacey if you could drive the car.
Well, I was just joking around. I didn't really think that she'd let me drive the car. And then she did let me drive the car, which was surprising because she actually did know I did not have a license.
How did she know that?
We've known each other for a while. Everyone in our group of friends makes fun of me because they know I'm not getting my license till I'm probably around 18 or 19, so.
That still doesn't answer my question, Jonathan. Why did you ask her if you could drive the car?
Well, I wasn't really thinking that she'd let me. I was just joking around. It was supposed to be a joke, like.
Okay, so now it was a joke, and then she said okay.
Yeah. And then I stupidly got in the driver's seat, so.
You knew that was wrong.
Yes.
Now, your mother has told me that there were clear rules in your family about not having a driver's license. Were there ever any discussions, arguments in your house, little tiffs about the driver's license?
No, we never.
You're a good kid. I don't know if I could get away with that. Let me tell you why this case presents a problem to me, Mr. Harrelson. Ordinarily, I would say, well, he clearly is responsible for at least part of the damage to your car because he did, in fact, get behind the wheel, drove it, and he caused damage to your car, and why should you have to shoulder that yourself? The issue that's presented is, should his parents, who have done everything that they can to ensure that he not drive a car, they've made it clear to him that until he is responsible enough, he does not have their permission to do it, and they've acted on what they said. You felt you could trust your daughter, right?
Correct. I think that my only rebuttal to that would be the fact, okay, my daughter is 16. She wanted to drive a car. I took the time to take her out to parking lots, to school grounds, to big areas where there was no traffic to teach her how to responsibly drive a car. Okay, I took those steps. Nobody had a sign around this boy's neck that says, I do not have a license. He knows he doesn't have a license. Nobody put him behind the wheel of that car except himself.
No, you're
Now,
wrong, sir.
so-
No, Mr. Harrelson, that's where you're mistaken. But for your daughter's permission, he would not have been behind the wheel of the car. And while you may have given her driving lessons and taught her how to drive responsibly, she still lacked the judgment and the maturity to be able to say to Jonathan, sorry, Jonathan, you can't drive my car whether you have a license or not because I've made a promise to my parents. So that my problem is, if I could hold Jonathan here partially responsible, I would do that. He's a minor, so I can't do that. I have to find that his parents knew or should have known or in some way enabled him to do what he did. And I find that quite to the contrary, they did everything to avoid his being behind the wheel of a car. That's why his parents aren't responsible. Now, if they knew that he had done this sort of thing before, I would say, yes, they are at least partially responsible. But I, quite frankly, Mr. Harrelson, cannot find them partially responsible. He is. I mean, she may have given you permission, given you the car keys, and turned the car over to you, but nobody grabbed you by the throat and put you into the car. So, Mr. Harrelson, I will certainly tell young Jonathan here that he's a very young man, and if he wants to start his life out right, taking care of his own obligations, and if you want to be mature enough, and if you want to drive a car before you're 50 years old, because I guarantee you, I'm looking at your mother in your mother's house, you ain't going to drive a car so soon. Now, in the law, because Jonathan is a minor, I cannot enter a judgment against him. I could enter a judgment against his parents for contributory negligence, because he was contributorily negligent in this accident. But I would have to satisfy myself that they in some way either knew, actively or tacitly, or encouraged him to get behind the wheel of a car, any car, and that would be by participating in him getting a license, by participating in driver's ed. Quite the contrary. In their case, sir, he was told, you can't drive. But you have to understand, Mr. Harrelson, but for the actions of your agent, and in this situation, your daughter was your agent, because you chose to give her a car. You gave her certain rules, which she violated with regard to other people driving the car. So, but for her actions, we would not be here today. Therefore, I can impugn her negligence in letting him drive that car to you. His parents didn't allow him to do that. And if I were to say that they were financially responsible to you, I would be impugning his negligence to them. And they did everything that they could to see to it that their son did not drive a car until they thought he was responsible. I'm telling you, your daughter may know how to drive a car, but she violated your trust on many more than this one occasion. So grounded is one thing, but I would rethink it in any event. For the reasons that I've outlined, your lawsuit is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
26-year-old student Eileen Valerio is suing her former live-in boyfriend, 25-year-old sales rep Roger Hall, for his portion of an apartment lease and other bills. Roger is countersuing for the return of his belongings and for a permanent scar on his face.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 521 on the calendar in the matter of Valerio versus Hall.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Miss Valerio, at a time when you and the defendant were boyfriend and girlfriend, you decided to live together. You took a lease on an apartment, according to you, for a year. There was a problem with that living arrangement. The defendant was taken into custody for some act of domestic violence. You ultimately had a restraining order against him. Is that right?
That's true.
And what you want is for him to pay the remainder of the lease when he was no longer living in the apartment after the restraining order, and some other nonsensy stuff. But mostly it's the money for the lease. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
When did you move in?
September of 2000.
And how long did you actually live together?
Till December 9th of 2000.
Was it on the 9th of December that he was taken into custody?
Yes.
Who called the police?
Actually, he called the police first and hung up on them, and I called the police from a neighbor's house.
So you called the police first?
I did, yes.
Were those charges ultimately dropped?
Yes, they were.
Did you consent to a protective order, or was there a trial?
No, it was just dropped. Everything was just dropped.
Not the restraining order was not dropped.
Exactly.
That's what I asked you, sir. She has a restraining order against you. Did you consent to that restraining order, or was there a trial with regard to her?
There's no trial. I consent to it.
So as part of the restraining order, you knew that you would not be able to live in the house?
Correct.
And that's what you wanted?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you pay rent in December?
I had given her cash in December.
Did he pay rent for December?
He gave me $265, which was half of all the utilities from December and January.
Did he pay rent in November?
Yes.
Why do you think he should be responsible for the remainder of the lease?
He signed a lease for a year. It's not my fault that he got kicked out. It's not my fault that he made a mistake and can no longer live there. In order to get out of the lease, he has to pay a month in advance plus a half a month, but that entails me moving. I don't think I should have to move and pack up my stuff just because he can no longer live there.
Well, Ms. Valerio, according to Mr. Hall, he offered to pay the month and a half's rent to move out, but you would not have accepted that anyway.
That was never brought to my attention. He's been talking to the leasing agents, and they told him that they wouldn't allow it.
No, I thought that that was permitted in your lease.
Well, it is, but they're not allowing it because I have to move out, and they don't feel that I should have to move out, and neither do they.
You're not going to get your money. This was an error in judgment on both of your parts to move in together. It lasted a relatively short period of time. He is precluded from living in your home. He consented to a protective order. If you have the ability to minimize your losses, even though that involves you moving, you can't expect him to support you. You're not married to each other. And certainly he should have paid December's rent because you were living there up till December 9th. Is that right?
Yes, I was, which I did.
You have proof that you paid December's
No,
rent?
unfortunately, I did not ask her for a receipt.
Did you always pay her in cash?
No, just the last 2 months because I had a restraining order against me, so...
I'm not talking... When did you have a restraining order?
The whole time we lived there, he never paid rent. I paid rent. He didn't even have a job half the time he lived there.
I have receipts.
Well, show me your receipts.
Deposit, first month's rent.
He paid a security deposit of $100. I paid for groceries. I paid for food.
I'm not talking groceries and food. We're talking now rent.
I'm talking all bills.
No,
I have the receipts for everything.
I'm talking rent.
I have the receipts for everything.
Every Valerio, I want you to listen to me. I've said this before. I don't know whether you've heard it before. When two people decide to live together without benefit of marriage, there are different set of rules than when you're married. I don't choose to waste my time in going through your grocery bills and seeing who was supposed to pay for what box of Rice Krispies.
Actually, I was speaking about rent because there's...
Well, that's all I'm speaking about.
Yeah.
You said I have all these bills. I have grocery bills and cable bills and all the other bills, and I don't intend to do that. The crux of your case is about a lease to which he obligated himself, and to which he was prepared to sign off, pay the month's rent, get off the lease, but it would involve you moving. And you said, I'm not moving.
I was never asked.
Just a minute. Yeah, it came up. I want to tell you something. It came up, Miss Valeria, because you were too quick to say, I don't think that I should have to move because of his actions.
No, I heard that from the leasing agents. That's the only person I heard it from. I never heard by letter, by nobody.
If you heard it from the leasing agent, then the leasing agent said to you, he came in trying to sign off on the lease. You mean it just came up, you said, how are you, leasing agent? Good morning. And the leasing agent said to you, you shouldn't have to move because of something he did. Is that how it came up?
No.
All right. You know, don't give me...
Oh, I know.
You're smart. All right. I see September. What about October, sir?
October, November, they were all paid.
Show me. You have checks here.
I don't have the checks for October, November.
Why not?
You didn't pay them.
I did pay them.
Shh. Don't talk to her.
All right. The checks that I wrote out, I don't get actually copies back. Those checks there you see are from a relative of mine that wrote them out for me at the time because I had no checking account. So their bank sends back their checks. The bank that I currently use does not send back my checks.
Fine, just show me a statement.
Again, I don't have that.
Well, where'd you think you were coming today? To a dance? If you don't have the checks, then you have a bank statement. The bank statement shows what checks were paid.
I don't have it. Rent was paid on time every month.
Well, but the question is, did you pay your part of the rent? She says you paid some, but not all.
Well, we were roommates, so of course I did.
He didn't have a job.
Let me see your checks for October, November, and December.
There's,
You don't want this, do you?
What is that?
yeah, it's my checking account that shows.
It's her ledger.
I don't want your ledger. I want bank statements. You have a bank statement? Do you get your checks back?
No, but in the actual ledger, it tells that I pay Coachman Crossing. I mean, when you sign your check, there's like a backing
All right,
to
let me
it that
see.
copies it.
She's very organized, so.
You actually don't get a receipt from them.
I'm not talking about a receipt, madam. I'm talking about a bank statement.
I didn't bring bank statements because when you sign a check, it has a carbon copy. So I could actually show you my checking account, but those are copies of it.
Let me explain something to you. When you write out a check, there's a carbon underneath.
Exactly.
You can write out a check, rip it up into little teeny, teeny, teeny pieces, and throw it in the garbage. And guess what you still have? The carbon. Right?
I do have the carbon, but
Just
I
a
don't have it
second.
with me.
Hello? Didn't you understand what I just said?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Eileen Valerio says former live-in boyfriend Roger Hall owes her for breaking an apartment lease and the money she'd paid for car insurance. Roger says Eileen won't return his stereo equipment.
So you don't have your checks for October, November, and December either?
They should be all there. But
This is not here, madam. This is your ledger. This is your ledger. This is what you write out. This has nothing to do with a bank.
Your Honor, I use starter checks.
What?
I use starter checks.
Starter checks?
Correct.
Where are they?
I already used them.
You people deserve each other. I swear to you, people actually deserve each other. Are you still living in the apartment?
Yes. The lease is going to be up in August.
Are you planning on staying there? Do you have a roommate?
No.
You live there all by yourself? And you're enjoying it?
Absolutely.
Pay for it. Now, let's get to next. Monies to purchase a car is what you have here.
What happened is when we moved to Florida, he had a car and he didn't have a license. So I put his car under my name for insurance and signed up for a policy for a year. We had agreed that we would use the same vehicle for a year. And he took the car, so now I don't have a car.
So you want him to pay for a car? That's what you said, monies to purchase a car.
Well,
And taxi transportation.
taxi transportation is what I've been...
So
it
you want him
averages
to
out
pay-
to about $200 a month. That's a big expense. And I already paid the premium of the insurance policy. So I'm driving nothing and paid something.
Did you pay for... You have one point that I will give you. If you paid for the insurance and he's driving the car, he should reimburse you for the insurance, right? Car.
Insurance is canceled. It's done.
It's over?
It's over with. It's
I
been
already
over with.
paid the premium. $626.
For how... Will,
There's no way.
just a second. When did you cancel the insurance?
Months ago.
No, last month. He took the car, so I canceled the insurance because I don't...
Oh, he took the car, you canceled the insurance. What are you bothering me for?
Because I paid the premium already. I paid a year's worth of insurance.
Then they will reimburse it to you. What's next? And he's not paying for your taxi cab bills. What else?
I'm without a vehicle, so I don't get reimbursed for that.
No.
It's my vehicle.
Do I look like I need help from you? Huh?
No.
Miss Valerio, you tried a situation, it didn't work out, cost you a couple of bucks. What are you bothering me for? Let's get to your counterclaim, which is equally nonsense. Now, you say that she has of yours, sir, some property.
Correct.
And you also say that she damaged the car that she was driving around in, which is your car that no longer has insurance.
Correct.
All right, let's start with the damaged car. When did she damage your car? When she was driving it?
When I picked the car up and drove it out of the parking lot,
You mean after you separated?
after we separated, I had to escort.
Yes,
After
you
the
picked
piece.
the car up and you drove it out of the parking lot. What happened?
Well, I drove it home and started smoking real bad.
It started smoking.
Correct.
So?
Reason why? Because there was no oil in the car.
Yes.
So it caused damage internally.
Why didn't you put oil in the car?
Well, I did, but damage was already done.
Why didn't you put oil in the car before? You think that she sucked out the oil from the engine?
Before when?
Just a second. You think that she sucked out the oil from the engine to spite you?
Whether she's saving it or not, I don't know.
Well, I don't know either, so what are you bothering me for? It's your car, make sure it's got oil. Next. What's next? What's next?
You tell me. That's you're next.
Good. VCR, stereo, and permanent scar.
Correct.
As you see, this is not the case of the century.
No.
And I don't take it really seriously. All right. Do you have his TV first?
No.
Do you have a TV?
Yes.
Where did you get it from?
I bought it when I was 20 years old with my tax returns.
And that's the only TV that you have?
Yes.
And what about the TV that you're talking about?
It's a 13-inch TV, Emerson. Color TV, remote control.
Where was that? Do you have any idea?
I believe it was in a box that he took from the apartment.
But you don't have it?
No.
All right. Do you have his VCR?
No.
Do you have a VCR?
No. Yeah, well, yes, mine.
2 of them.
Both mine.
You have 2 VCRs?
I have one in the bedroom and one in the living room.
One belongs to me.
How did you get it?
I bought it.
When?
95.
In 1995?
Correct. Receipts, manuals.
Oh, perfect. Good. He gets 1 VCR back, madam. 1 VCR for the defendant. And if you want to watch a movie, go in another room. What about stereo and speakers? Do you have that of his?
When actually he left the apartment after he had been arrested, we had a phone conversation, which my witness here actually heard, that when he moved out, like the clothes he has on right now, I bought. Everything in the apartment I bought. He told me that because he was moving into his parents' home, he would have no room for it, and whatever was left there that he didn't take, I could have as payment to put towards anything else because he was buying something new.
Did you say that to her, Mr. Hall?
No, I did not.
He actually heard the conversation.
I would never give up my stereo.
Your name, please.
Ray Marsh, Your Honor.
How do you know the plaintiff and the defendant?
We're best friends, and we used to be roommates, actually.
You and the defendant?
All three of
All
us
three
used to
of
be
us.
roommates in New York.
Did you hear a conversation about any of the stereo equipment or anything else?
Yeah, and the conversation that I had overheard.
Overheard it in person or on the phone?
On the phone.
Were you standing next to the phone or you want an extension?
It was on a three-way conversation.
Go ahead, let me hear.
Mr. Hall and Ms. Lair were conversing about this, and he had said that she could have the stereo equipment because he was going to be able to move into an apartment right away. He may have to move back in with his parents, and that she could have the equipment because he felt that was payment back for all the things that she had gotten him.
Did you have that conversation?
I had a conversation where I told her that I would leave it there for the time being because I had no place to put it. But when I come pick up all my stuff, I'm getting all of it at one time.
Okay. Let's get to the permanent scar left on my face by Eileen.
Scar on my face.
From what?
From her hitting me with a metal object.
When was that?
That's when I called the police. And I was arrested because I was the aggressor, they said. Charges were dropped.
Do you have any medical report?
No.
Do you have any pictures?
It's scared, it's scarred.
Do you have any photographs of the incident?
Actually, she does.
Could I see them, please?
I have a, from the injunction, he admits to doing everything.
Well, he clearly has some marks on his face. He's clearly
yeah,
scratched him up real good.
There's pictures of me in
hit
there
him
as
up
well.
real good. And I see your pictures here.
I didn't hit him with a metal object, actually. It was my nails.
It looks like nails to me.
Yeah.
Looks like you really went after each other that night.
Actually, I didn't. He punched me, and I was just trying to get him away from me. And my nails actually broke against the wall when he pushed me against the wall. And that's how he got the scratches on his face.
I restrained her, Your Honor.
You were what?
Restrained her. I pushed her away from me. That's just the pictures. There's red marks. That's from restraining.
I see it.
In this statement right here in court, he admits to doing everything if you would like to
I'd like
look
to
at
see it.
He admitted himself into a 26-week course for domestic violence, and he actually overheard another conversation.
That was court ordered. He didn't admit himself.
Well, actually, he admits in there that he wanted to do it himself, and then he overheard another conversation where he wanted to admit himself into a mental institution.
Ms. Valerio, let me ask you this question, madam. Do you think he has... Put the rubber band down. You think he... Put the rubber band down. You think he has mental problems?
I think he has psychological problems that stem from childhood, yes.
Fine. If you think he has psychological problems, why in the world would an intelligent person want to keep property like his stereo equipment that it appears that he now wants? Even if he once said to you, in the heat of a moment, you can keep all that stuff, I don't want it. Now he wants his stereo stuff back. Why wouldn't a smart person say, I'm glad I got away, I don't have any broken bones, I don't have a child with him, there's nothing to keep us together. The only thing that's going to be a bee in his bonnet is his stereo equipment.
He could have taken it.
But now he wants it. I'm just talking about being smart. I'm not talking about you having to return it. I'm talking about being smart. So far you did a lot of things that weren't smart. It would be smart to cut your ties with him. Right?
Sure.
Good. You can pick up your stereo equipment, sir, along with the 1 VCR. I believe that you probably at some point said in the heat of the moment, I don't care, you can keep all that stuff. Yeah. But I do believe it's smarter on her part to give it back to you. We got each other?
Mm-hmm.
Good. That's all. That resolves this case. You have no case. He has no case, but he's getting a VCR and a stereo. Goodbye, have nothing to do with each other. According to this, you sent him balloons on his birthday, Miss Valeria?
Yep.
Well, that's even dumber than dumb.
When someone has a problem,
Your
we
Honor.
just want
That's even dumber than dumb.
Your Honor.
Because quiet. That sends out mixed messages to him.
True.
Forget about your scar.
He was supposed to. He was actually supposed to get help, and he now.
Miss Valerio.
didn't get it.
Pay careful attention to me.
I know.
It sends out mixed messages, madam.
It wasn't just from me. It was from all of us.
What do you want?
This is a copy of a returned check that Miss Valerio had forged my name.
There's nothing about, in your countersuit, anything about a forged check.
Actually, this is just brought to my attention recently.
Say goodbye to him, will you, please?
Goodbye. Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
29-year-old homemaker Melissa Thomas and her son, 10-year-old Austin Saffil, are suing 39-year-old custodial worker Carlissa Jackson and her son, 12-year-old Joel. Austin claims Joel punched him in the face twice, breaking his nose.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 516 on the calendar in the matter of Thomas versus Jackson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Miss Thomas, it is your claim that the defendant's son broke your son's nose.
Correct.
You want to tell me what happened?
Well, I was walking down the street because my friends said they were going to play football that day. None of them were out there. And then Tyra and Jatiste, the two girls that were like friends that lived down the street, and they were yelling out the window. And I didn't understand what they're saying. I was like, well, I'm gonna go home. Then Joe started coming to me, and he was like, what's up, what's up? And then he hit me in my nose. And then I said, I don't want to fight you, and then he hit me in my nose, and it started to bleed.
So were you alone at the time he came up to you?
Yes.
Okay, now let's come to you, Ms. Thomas. How did you find out about your son's nose?
Well, the young lady, Tyra, is one of the girls that was with him, came running up to my...
I thought you said you were alone.
But they were coming out the door at the time. So as he walked up to me, they were coming out the door.
So one of the girls came to your house?
Yes, and she came running up to the door saying, hurry, hurry, Austin's bleeding, he needs you down the street. So I went running down there, and I saw him with his head back like this. There was blood everywhere, all over his clothes, on the ground. And I ripped off my tank top and put it to his face, and I asked him, do you know who did this to you? And they said, it's Joe, and he's right around the corner playing basketball. I said, take me to him. Take me to him right now. And I said, so you're the one who broke my son's nose. And he said, I ain't got time for your drama, B. And started going off on me. Like I was bothering his game of basketball when he just broke my son's nose. I said, so what, you just are going to break my son's nose and act like it's nothing? He's like, you know, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to stand out here and argue with a bunch of kids. So I went home, I picked up the phone, I called 911. The cops came out, took him home to his cousin. I had him delivered in a cop car.
Now I'll hear from you.
At first I was walking home from school, and then my best friend asked me did I want to play basketball. So we was over his house playing basketball. His sister Tyra told him that some little boy around the corner was messing with her. So we went around the corner, and as was about to fight him, I stepped in the middle and I told him not to hit him. Then he was talking stuff, and he called
Who's he was talking stuff?
Austin.
Did you know him from before?
No, never seen this.
So what kind of stuff was he talking?
He was like, I'm not scared of him, I'm not scared of him. And then he called me a B, and then I just took off my jacket and I hit him twice.
You think that's okay?
Yeah, if I felt like if I wouldn't have hit him, then he would have hit me.
But he didn't hit you.
I felt like he was about to.
What made you think he was about to hit you?
Because the way he looked at me.
The way he looked at you?
The way he looked at me.
Now, after you hit him twice in the nose, you went back to play basketball.
Yes.
And then his mother came up to you. She just told me that you cursed at her.
No.
Yes, you did.
Well, she was cussing at me. She actually threatened me.
Well, how did she threaten you?
She said she would get a 15 or 16-year-old on me, and she said she'll kill me. That's when she stepped down the street like she was going to hit me, but my best friend, he stepped in front of me and told her to go on because she's not hitting me.
you have a police report?
Yes, I do.
Were you arrested?
Well, taken home, yeah.
After you were taken home, did you have to appear in juvenile court?
No.
Why didn't you press charges against him?
I did press charges, Your Honor, but they were telling me even if I filed and received a misdemeanor on him for the assault charges, the only pain and suffering or anything that I could get was $300.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about teaching him a lesson. How many times have you been in a police car?
Just twice.
When before that were you in a police car?
Some little kids was busting windows, and they mistakenly put me in the police car on accident, and it wasn't me.
It wasn't you?
No.
Let me see your bills.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Yes.
You know, and also when Austin had, after he had broke his nose, he told my son, he said to everybody in the neighborhood, he kept saying, well, that's what the white boy gets. That's what the white boy gets, you know. And my son, granted, he is light-skinned, but I don't care what shade you are, you know what I mean? This isn't about what color you are. It's about violating my child.
Absolutely right.
So that was another thing, because they think he's a white boy, and he's not just a white boy.
No, he's a boy.
Right, exactly.
He's a boy. What?
I don't feel like it's a racial thing here because my son is not racist, not at all.
He may not be, but he certainly has a little bit of a violent tendency.
I mean, that's all kids is like that. When
No,
you're
all kids aren't like
this
that.
he was.
All kids aren't
he
like
was
that.
cursing too.
Cursing
So-
is one thing. Listen to me. Your son went up to him, came around the corner, came up to him, and hit him in the face because he didn't like the way he looked at him, according to him.
No.
He looked as if he might be going to hit him, so he hit him first, twice. But he went looking for him. He came around the corner, and before he even found out what was going on, I mean, I read his answer. His answer was he was protecting some little girl that he thought he was teasing. He was in a confrontation with another friend. That's a lot of baloney. He came around the corner, and he hit him twice. And he's responsible. He's responsible for his broken nose. He's responsible for all the medical bills, and he's responsible for pain and suffering. He's responsible for that.
I understand that.
What? You want to say something, sir?
Yes. Your Honor, when I received the phone call from my wife that the incident had taken place, I rushed home. During the time that my wife was filing a report, she had noticed that two of the young men that were at the scene were walking by snickering. And so I asked him to come here, and I asked him, I said, you know what, I want to know which one of you two were the one calling my wife out of her name. And they began to tell me that Joe is one of the kids in the neighborhood that he thinks he has to go for bad or whatnot. He has to prove something to himself. And that the girls that he accuses my son of making fun of, we have written testimonies from the young ladies. They warned Austin to run because they knew that Joe was going to go up to him and fight him for no reason at all. I asked the police officer to make sure his mother calls us. She wanted to know what happened, and she explained to me that, you know, it doesn't surprise her that her son, you know, might have did this, but she wanted to hear both. She wanted to hear both sides of the story. She is well aware that Joe is one way with her and another way out in the neighborhood, and she can't understand why he acts that way because her other children, her other young boys, don't act that way.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 10-year-old Austin Saffel says neighbor 12-year-old Joel Jackson punched him in the face and broke his nose. Joel says he thought Austin was going to hit him first.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, I spoke to her one time as Austin's mother. She informed me that she wants to hurry up and get the court situation over with. And I just hung up on her. I flat out hung up on her. You know, how are you going to call me and tell me that we need to hurry up and get this over with? Well, so would I, but I have to go to an ENT for my son's nose. His nose has to be broke now 2 times because he has a lump coming out of the side of his nose. You know, hello, this doesn't end for me just because I go to court.
So you have to do additional medical procedures other than the $2,059 that you've already spent.
Yes, it's $85 just for us to show our face into the ENT clinic.
Could you step up, please? I want to take a look at your nose. Where is it broken?
It's broke right down here, right in here.
You have any medical report in your file?
Yes, I do.
Can I see you step back to your folks, please? Do you have any other report with regard to the procedure for re-breaking his nose and resetting it?
I asked them what it will cost for Austin's nose. They said every nose varies. Some noses run $1,000, some runs $500. They just don't know until they see it.
Well, right now you have about $2,100 in out-of-pocket expenses just for his medical visits.
Yes, and I have no insurance because my husband got a better paying job, and his insurance doesn't even kick in for 90 days. So this is, every time I've went, it's self-pay, self-pay. I mean, we work for a living.
Yes, we do.
Well, I'm glad that you're working.
I agree with that.
I'm glad that you're working. She's not going to have any of these expenses out of pocket. You had no right to hit him. Don't look up at the sky. You're just very, very lucky that they didn't pursue this matter in juvenile court because they probably wouldn't have put you away, but you would have had a record. How old are you?
12.
12. So you would have had a record at age 12. That's not very smart. How many brothers do you have?
2.
They ever been in jail?
No.
They nice boys?
Yes.
Good. So you have good examples at home. What happened to you?
Nothing.
Ever been suspended for fighting in school?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. How did I know that? How do you think I knew that?
I don't know.
Wasn't that a good question? Look, I'm only giving you your medical bills up until today, plus some additional costs that you incurred. But you may have to bring an additional suit once you have additional medical costs, because I can't anticipate what those medical bills are going to be. Do you understand?
Yes.
So I'm issuing a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. It covers your bills until today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't appreciate her cussing out my son the way she did.
When you see your child bleeding on a street and he's left there and you're just going to protect your child, I would say that sometimes you say things that just is not of you, but out of, frustration and anger.
And now the next case.
All parties on Zavala versus Johnson. Step forward, please.
20-year-old salesperson Brooklyn Zavala is suing her sister-in-law, 23-year-old restaurant manager Tiana Johnson, for babysitting fees and damage to her vehicle.
Mrs. Zavala, the defendant is your sister-in-law.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you provided daycare services for your sister-in-law's children.
Yes.
Then she decided to move. You did provide childcare for a few days, for which you were not paid.
Correct.
And then on the day that your sister-in-law was moving, it is your claim that she damaged a car of yours.
True.
What was your arrangement with regard to the childcare?
I was to get paid $2.37 per hour.
How did you come to
child.
that figure?
Because that's what the state was allowing her to get. I was just to get the whole check from the Health and Welfare Office. I got a check for May, June, and July. And then in August, I watched them for 5 days.
Which 5 days in August?
2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Ms. Johnson, did you get a check from the state for those dates in August?
No, I did not.
Why?
Because they were taking me off that program at that time because I was moving.
She was supposed to get a check. I have record right here that it got sent back to Health and Welfare.
Let me see.
From her caseworker.
My caseworker told me that I was not getting a check for that month.
So it was returned?
Right.
So she did not, you're not claiming that she got the money and just didn't give it to you?
Right, I just didn't get paid.
Well, she's not going to pay you. You have to get your money from the state. That was your agreement.
They only pay a portion on that, so she would also have to pay on top of that.
Why? That wasn't your agreement. That wasn't your agreement, Ms. Zavala.
True.
Your agreement was that whatever money she received from the state, you would get.
Right.
And you never got any additional monies in the months that you did watch the children.
True.
Right? So why would you expect additional monies in August?
I estimated it from $2.37 for each child per hour.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
I do.
I don't know what we're fighting about here for 5 days worth of daycare. If two people who are related to each other, except maybe the fight's about this damaged truck. So you want to tell me about the damaged truck?
Well, the morning of the 8th of August, we got a phone call saying we needed to come to Tiana's. Tiana had something to tell us. We were told she was leaving town because she was scared to death if her husband was going to kill her, which is her witness right now.
Go ahead.
Her brother and her also got in an argument, and because he was telling her that she shouldn't pick up and leave like that with 3 children.
Who should she leave the children with?
We were going to offer, or Sean and Christine, and then Delano and Amanda, which is also her brother and sister-in-law.
Okay. What happened when she left?
Well, we helped her pack, and a couple hours later, she just was leaving, wasn't watching where she was going, and backed into my car. She said sorry, didn't even get out of her van, and then left.
She was upset, I assume, right?
No, she was fine by then because we were just packing up and leaving. She was in a hurry to leave.
Why do you think she was in a hurry?
Because she had to meet with a couple people in Oregon that she was going with.
She said she had to leave because she was deathly afraid of her husband. You don't think that picking up and leaving and packing up very quickly and leaving with your 3 children, you're upset? I mean, I'm not giving...
That happened a month or 2 prior to her leaving. She was still going up and taking the kids up to his house.
Because he's their father.
Until 2 o'clock in the morning, and she's deathly afraid of him. These are the car estimates and pictures.
I also have a blue book value of the car as a trade-in and as retail value.
Well, you definitely hit her car.
She was parked at an angle right in my blind spot on a cul-de-sac, which you're supposed to be parked with the curve. She was parked straight out this way. And when I was backing out, I could not see her, and I hit her like this.
Okay. $900 worth of damage.
And the blue book value of the car as a trade-in is $375, and the retail value is $1,400. I think that's a large amount for damage. It's almost as much as the car is worth.
So what do you think the right thing to do is?
Actually, 4 days before she filed this suit, I had told my brother that I was going to give them some money. And she has not tried to contact me, tried to resolve anything, to even try to work out a payment or anything.
Well, what is everybody so mad about?
I think she's mad because I left and she was out of a job.
No, because I went and got a job 2 weeks later.
All I heard that day that I was leaving was, what about the check? What about the check? No, you know, I'm going to miss you or anything. It was all about the check.
No.
The money.
Wrong, because I was trying to talk her out of going. I was scared for the kids' welfare because the van wasn't going to make it to West Virginia.
Did it make it?
No. She left it on the side of a highway with all of their belongings in it, pretty much.
No, I didn't. I got the belongings there. My children were safe. My children were back safe.
Did the van die?
The transmission went out.
How did you get to your final destination?
With the rest of the party that I was traveling with. We had 3 different cars going.
Where were you going? Just my own.
To West Virginia.
To what?
I had some friends up there.
Who were the other people?
Stay there. Some cousins, longtime friends of the family.
Well, were they going to live too?
Mm-hmm.
You just decided to all leave at the same time to go to West Virginia to live?
Right. There was a lot of circumstances following that.
Well, just give it to me in 30 seconds or less, would you?
Okay. They were deciding to leave, so I went over there. They offered me to go with them, so I decided, yeah, I would
Where
go.
were you all going? I mean, were you going to a farmhouse someplace? Where were you going to live?
No, I have a really good friend that lives up there, and she offered for me to stay with her.
How long did you stay there?
I stayed there a matter of 2 months.
And then where did you come?
I had to come back to the state of Idaho.
Why?
For a custody hearing.
And then you reconciled with your husband?
Somewhat, yes.
What does somewhat mean?
We're working on the situation.
Do you live under the same roof?
No.
What?
Can I stand up?
Of course, if you want to speak.
Yeah, what I was told by his mother was that...
It's hearsay.
Well, even he admitted it. She came back down for that custody hearing plus a battery hearing.
Against him?
Against him, and then they were still together during that whole issue. They came back and they're still together now, from what I heard.
I guess.
And the whole thing with the car is, when she was up in West Virginia, I talked to her, said, you need to start making some payments. And that was like almost a year went by and nothing happened.
You owe them $900 to fix their car. With regard to the money for your 5 days of babysitting, I suggest that you take that up with the state.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. That's all.
Party's up. Teeters, Holman versus Slatter. Step forward, please.
25-year-old Cammie Holman says 24-year-old vacuum salesman Jeffrey Slater swept her off her feet, conning her and her mother, Lois Teeters, out of thousands of dollars. Jeffrey says after he and Cammie split up, she began harassing him for money.
Order. All rise. This is number 252 on the calendar in the matter of Teeters, Holman versus Slatter. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Who's Mrs. Teeters? Is that you? Miss Holman?
Ma'am.
Mother and daughter. Former live-in boyfriend.
Correct.
I have two complaints here, and according to both complaints, at some point you met him and he moved into your house. And did you move in there with your child, sir?
Yes.
You have a daughter?
Yes.
How old is she?
3.
You have custody of her?
Not full custody, no.
Were you living with her full time when you moved into their house?
With my daughter, partial time, half and half.
And according to the complaint, during the time that he lived there, each of you were foolish enough to let him use a credit card, and he ran up substantial bills on those credit cards, and then took off. Why don't you start? First, what prompted you to let him move into the house?
Well, I was going to rent a room to somebody anyway to help me make ends meet, and they were getting together, and he was interested in moving out from his mother's place. She was driving him nuts or something, so he needed a place to live. So it worked out. It seemed fine for both of us.
But according to these papers, he moved into your daughter's room.
Yes, they were a couple by then.
So that didn't help to pay your bills if...
Well, he was going to pay rent, yes. He was paying rent.
He was paying rent?
Yes, he paid the rent.
How much rent did he pay?
$400 a month.
Okay, now would you mind telling me why you gave him a credit card?
It started out just, you know, he wanted to make some purchases, and he only got paid every 2 weeks, and he was gaining weight, needed clothes and what have you, and he would give me a post-dated check. And I let him do that, and he did. The first couple of purchases, he gave me a check, and I held it, and then, you know, when he got paid and it was good, I mailed it in to the credit card company.
Did you give him his own credit card, or did you just let him use yours?
No, he had authorization. Cammie has copies of my cards. We have, you know, 2 cards on the account, so if she was with him and they were shopping, they would get something and put it on my card. And he gave me a check and paid me back. So the first 2 or 3 times, you know, that was swell, it worked. And he wanted to make some larger purchases, and the arrangement...
Like what?
Oh, well, he was trying to build his car to race, so he wanted like a transmission, and he had this good deal and a converter and different things that he was buying. And the arrangement was that he would make the payments to the credit card company, and that worked for me because then I didn't have to come up with the minimum. My minimum would be met. And he would get behind, like it would be 2 or 3 months. I'd get phone calls from the creditors, and they'd say, "You're behind," and I would check with him, and he'd say, "Oh, I mailed it, I'll call them and straighten it out." So he did make some small payments on the minimums on the account. I can't say for the first few months because it would be 2 or 3 months before he made a payment, but you see, you know,
Okay, now
over
how
a
much
period
does
of
he owe
time.
altogether on your credit card? Take it out. We'll show it to him. Together with the purchases.
The total that I have mine made up for is $4,926.60. That's documented amounts.
Okay. Have you shown those to him, those charges?
Yes, he has copies. He
You
has
have
been
copies
given
of those,
copies
sir?
in the past of all
I've had
of them.
copies. I don't have them with me now.
But you've seen them?
I've seen them, yeah.
Good. Now, what about your credit card?
Okay, my credit card started out with he needed a gas tank fixed in his 68 Camaro because at the beginning of our relationship, that was his transportation to work. He didn't have the money.
First, what prompted you to have him come into your house? How long had you known each other before you decided to move him into your house?
We were friends before, and then we got together, and we were together every day since. And so
How long?
How long? That once we got together?
Now, how long were you friends first?
Oh, May of '96.
Yes.
And then got together July 4th.
Of '96?
Yes.
A really long courtship. At least 8 weeks.
Well, he's a very smooth talker. I was also coming out of a bad marriage, and it's nice when someone tells you, you know, all these wonderful things about you and makes you feel wanted and loved, which is what I needed at the time, I guess. And I think he played on that too, but that's a personal thing.
So he moved in?
Yes. And we made a room for his daughter. She had her very own room. My mom and I purchased all the stuff to decorate it. We made them, it was their home.
Are any of these bills for what you did in furnishing his daughter's room?
No. And Tiffany has her bedding and stuff. Her mother has it. She uses it with Tiffany.
But those were gifts?
Right, those were gifts, yes.
Okay, but so now tell me about how you came to give him your credit card.
He needed a gas tank, like I said, the repair, and he didn't have the money. And, you know...
Did you know that he was already using your mother's credit card?
No, he hadn't. He used mine before he used my mom's.
Did you know that he had used your daughter's before you let him use yours?
I don't really remember if I knew it specifically that he had.
Go ahead.
So we got his gas tank repaired. He was driving a long distance, and he'd run out, basically have to fill up just to get back home because it was all pouring out on the ground.
And how much was that?
That was $120. That's rough. I mean, I have it of the credit card thing.
Okay, but there were a lot of bills here, according to you. 3,000 some odd dollars worth.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She came in just ranting and raving because I was leaving. She didn't want me to leave. And then after she hit me, I defended myself and pushed her to the ground. Yes, I did.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 25-year-old Cammie Holman says the man she thought she loved, 24-year-old Jeffrey Slater, conned her and her mother, Lois Teeters, out of thousands of dollars. Jeffrey says Cammie is angry because they broke up.
Give me an idea of what he was purchasing on your credit card.
On mine specifically?
Not yours.
Robinson's May. He needed new clothes. Like my mom stated, he had gained weight when we got together. I guess he liked my mom's cooking. I don't know. So there were lots of purchases for new clothes for him, as well as one of his mom's Christmas present was purchased on my Robinson's May card.
Did you purchase your mother's Christmas present on her credit card?
She purchased it, yeah.
He was with me at shopping. His mother would not have gotten a Christmas present, or her boyfriend, if it hadn't been me paying for it.
Well, I understand that, but did he say, can I buy my mother a Christmas present and put it on your card?
No.
Shh. Did he say that to you?
He said, I said, we need to go shopping and buy your mom something. He said, well, what should we do? I said, well, let's go to Robinson's May and get something for her. So we went, because I have a Robinson's May card. But that's only $21.54. That's...
Well, you see, that's a problem.
Right.
Because in order to have an agreement for him to pay you back, there has to be some sort of an agreement. This wasn't a, you know, I'll lend you the money to buy your mom a Christmas present.
So we can get rid of the Christmas
present. So give me some others.
Okay, so he got clothes for him, $297.25, $132.50, $43.09. Those are all clothes for him.
Give me some of the big bills that come up to $3,000.
Jacob's electronic system. That is an electronic system for his '68 race car, his Camaro. It's an electronic system.
And how much was that?
Part of it was $515.44. The other part is $281.85.
Does that, Mr. Slater, have a familiar ring to it?
I know exactly what the Jacob system is.
No, but does that bill?
Yeah, the bill, no, I know exactly what it is.
Well, then tell me about it, sir.
Well, during the time that we were living together, I went ahead and we were building my race car, or at the time we were building it.
What do you mean we were building your race car?
They were helping me purchase items for my car.
Yeah.
And during that time, I purchased an electronic system for making the car run proper, and I went ahead, ordered it with their consent, and when it came in, as time came on, I gave money for it over a period of time.
So you're telling me that you paid it all off?
I'm not saying I paid everything, because a lot of the stuff that we had purchased were purchases together.
No, not for your car.
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
Let's just talk about the car. I mean, I read your answer, and you seem to say, I don't know anything. That these were things that were purchased sort of as a couple.
A lot of stuff was purchased as a couple, yes, but as the car, over the course of time that I've lived there, I have paid money to the credit card companies.
How much? Show me.
This here, what I have in my hand, is basically a check register on two different things that shows documentation.
I'm not interested in your check register, sir.
Well, what I'm saying is this here shows what I paid, when I paid, and amounts.
It shows nothing. Canceled checks show what you paid.
Okay, well, I can get canceled checks, but I did not get any, you know.
Well, where did you think you were coming today, sir? To a ball? You were coming to court. What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a store manager.
Which means that you know something about business.
Correct.
Right? You can take a check register and sit down and do it almost like a novel. Write whatever you want in there. That's why we use canceled checks as proof. What is that? That is nothing. A check register is a nothing. How much did he pay in total on your credit card?
I don't know. I didn't include any of the ones that he had paid.
None?
No.
And what about you, Cammie?
He gave me about $140. That went to, he took my car to Bakersfield.
Whatever. He gave you
And
about
used the gas card.
$140.
Yes.
Can I
it
see some
wasn't
of
two
these?
credit
Now I
cards.
want to take a look at some of the charges.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, just the whole
These-
package. Yeah.
There's letters in there saying, we highlighted some
I don't
parts
want the
for you.
letters. I just want to see
Okay. It just says that he's going to pay us. So I didn't know that particular one right there on top.
Jacobs Electronics ignition system, $515. Is that you?
That was mine.
Okay. How about a trip to Texas airfare? What is that?
When we were dating, we were going to plan a trip to go to my father's house, and I didn't have the money at the time, and she made the arrangements with my job. She went ahead and purchased the tickets for me, Cammie, and my daughter, and we flew out.
So this was for me to go back and meet his family, to meet his family.
Is that what the trip was intended for, sir?
It was just supposed to be a trip for all of us to go visit, because I haven't seen my father in quite a few years.
Well, why should she pay for that?
It was a gesture. She said okay, and then I was going to pay part of it.
You were going to pay part of it?
Yeah, I was.
How much?
As much as my plane ticket was.
And what about your daughter?
Well, we hadn't talked about that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Pay $72 to get your hair styled. They're ripping you off, sir.
Real people, Judge Judy. Cammie Holman says she thought she loved 24-year-old Jeffrey Slater until she realized he was conning her and her mother, Lois Teeters. Jeffrey denies the allegation.
We have something here. Spark plugs.
Yeah, he bought new spark plugs and wires for his car, Excel. It was at an auto parts store. They wouldn't take his check.
Is that you, sir? Spark plugs.
Yes,
Does that
probably.
sound familiar? Why don't you
could be.
pay your own bills? Why are you relying on these two ladies to pay your bills?
During that particular thing there, they would not accept a check from me at that time for whatever reason.
So why don't you just give them cash? Everybody accepts cash.
I didn't have cash on me.
Well, why don't you just go to the bank and get cash?
Well, we were going to, but Cammie said, well, why don't we just put it on my charge and then you can pay me back.
You said, can we just use your charge instead of having to leave and go to the bank and come back?
All right. Look, there came a time when you left, right?
Yes.
Why?
Things were working out between us, and I decided, things were going to work out for the long term, and I wanted to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I left, things started getting more hectic. I had to have the cops called on her at my job.
Why is that, sir?
Because he hit me and threw me on the ground and left bruises, which the bruise pictures are at home. We accidentally forgot him.
When she came in my job, she come in ranting and raving because she didn't want me to leave, first of all. And
because you owe my
I
mom
said,
money.
okay. She came in just ranting and raving because I was leaving. She didn't want me to leave. And then after she hit me, I defended myself and pushed her to the ground. Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I got up, grabbed the phone to make a phone call to the police. And at that time, when I started coming up, she comes around our counter bin and hangs up the phone. And then grabs me by the hair and just yanks a ton of
that's
hair
not
out.
what happened.
And then during that time, then she's saying, well, you owe my mom this, you owe my mom that, and I want it this and that. And then my phone rang. I finally got away from Cammie. And when the phone rang, I answered the phone, and it was the Fullerton Police Department when they had to come out and take her.
How much after you left did this incident occur? Assuming, sir, that what you say is true, how much after you left did she come to your job?
Oh, she came to my job a couple times, but we had numerous amount of phone calls during the day. And then what finally ended up happening after I had the cops come, I had to leave that job and go to a whole different area and get away from them because of the phone calls and everything else. I was in the verge of losing my job because of it.
And how much money have you sent to both plaintiffs since you left?
Since I left?
Yes.
Not specifically to them, but that I sent to the credit card companies are probably around maybe $800 or so.
Just a minute. $800?
Roughly.
Show me the last bill here. And now, in what month did you leave, sir?
May.
Now take out your last check register. I love it when a game plan comes together. Your last check register, sir. Since May.
This particular one right here is one of the last ones that I made.
The last bill that came from NBNA and stuff, I think.
May. What date did he leave?
May 1st.
May 1st.
That's what time I told him to get out. He came
Just
and
a second. Shh. Is your credit card MBNA?
That's mine.
That's yours. All right, so here we have MBNA, $140. And then we're going to go down, and I'm going to see if I can find, after May, the rest of the $800. Let's see here. I must be missing something.
It might be right in April, too, when I paid some money.
We're not talking about April. I'm talking about since you left, sir.
Well,
I speak English. Do you speak English?
Yeah.
You said after May, after you left, you gave her about $800, and that your check register is accurate. So I see May 15th, $140. I'm just looking for the rest of the $800. I see one in July to a Powerhouse Gym for $350.
No,
Just later.
That's something else.
That's something else.
And that might be not be the most current one because I had to change bank accounts.
No, this goes, sir, through all of the months. June, July, August. This does
I know,
everything.
but I have 2 different checking accounts.
Sir, you see anything written on my forehead? Huh?
No.
Who's Nicole?
My hairstylist.
Pays $72 to get your hair styled.
He pays for his
They're ripping you
girlfriends
off,
as well.
sir. Well, so far, sir, all I see of the $800 is $140. Nothing else. I see another $380 for your gym. You spend a lot of money between your haircuts and gym. Nothing for what you owe.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Sir, you have to take responsibility for what you do. These people are not related to you by blood. They are not related to you by marriage.
Thank
You
God.
had a relationship with this young lady. She thought it would work out. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. In any event, you spent a lot of their money. Not only did you spend it, you enjoyed it, and you have the fruits of it. You're driving around in a car unless you sold it that they fixed. You're wearing nice clothes that they paid for. You have a nice stereo system that you listen to. And on and on and on, based on these bills that you say you saw. So you owe them the money. And your excuse that you didn't have an agreement with them is just a lot of baloney. I mean, I don't think that these are ladies that have an awful lot of money. And I think, furthermore, your conduct, knowing that you owe them the money and spending in 2 months' period of time almost $800 on a gym and $70 to get your hair coiffed is a lot of nerve. So the judgment in the case is for one plaintiff in the amount of $3,000 and the other in the amount of $4,900. That's all.
Excuse you may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next...
Parties on Coleman versus Smith. Step forward, please.
39-year-old Philadelphia transit worker Vanessa Coleman says a man she used to date, Theodore Smith, stole her car for 2 days, then returned it damaged. Mr. Smith claims he had Vanessa's permission to take the car and is not responsible for the damage to the vehicle.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. All rise. Judge, it's number 220 on the calendar in the matter of Coleman versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
All right, Miss Coleman, you say that Mr. Smith stole your car.
Yes.
He said he borrowed it with your permission. In any event, the car, something happened to it. It was damaged. You want to get paid?
Yes.
So first, let's start on the 27th of June, which is when this whole thing came down, I understand. He took the keys from your house.
Yes.
Tell me how that happened.
I had got home from work early this day, and the maintenance man, name is Derek, asked me if I could run him and Mr. Smith up to cash their check.
He was a neighbor of yours?
Yes, he's a neighbor. And so I did this, and came back home, and I knew I was going out that evening, so I came in to change, to get ready. So while I was in the house changing, Mr. Smith rang my bell. I asked who it was, and it was saying he responded, so I went to the door and let him in. So we were down there talking, and I noticed that I have a countertop in my living room that the keys were laying there. So I went back upstairs and told him that I was getting ready to go out that evening, and I left him downstairs. So anyway, as I got ready to come back down to leave, I noticed that my keys weren't on the counter anymore. So I figured, well, maybe I took them back upstairs. And I went back upstairs, and I didn't see the keys up there either. And I checked all in my pocketbook, and I couldn't find my keys.
Didn't find the keys? So did you call the police?
I called the police that evening because I waited to see maybe he would bring the car back. So I waited and waited, and I did finally call the police and report the car stolen that evening.
Now, that was June 27th.
June 27th.
When did you get the car back?
My niece found the car June 29th, which was a Sunday.
And what was the condition of the car when it was found?
Trying to move the car wouldn't move.
Okay, so it was damaged.
So it was damaged.
Well, he acknowledges that the car was damaged while you were driving it, sir. Now, why don't you tell me your version of how you got possession of these keys?
Ms. Coleman and I, we live 2 doors apart from each other.
Had you been friends before this happened?
Yes, we were. Yes, we were. We were also seeing each other.
No,
and
we weren't,
probably starting what I would call the start of a relationship.
What do you mean?
She and I had spent time in each other's house a couple of times, having dinner, ice cream, these sort of things.
That's nice.
I've used the car before, and I've driven a car and brought it back.
With her permission?
With her permission. I had asked her, could I use the car to make an errand to my mother's house? My mother lives in walking distance, 10 minutes, and driving, it's 2 minutes. The car was parked 4 blocks away from my mother's house.
Just a second. You asked her, according to you, you asked her if you could ride to an errand to your mother's house.
Yes, I did.
You didn't tell me what she said.
She said yes. She gave me the keys, which was a full set of keys. At that time...
And you intended to be back in...
In moments, because
moments.
She had told me she...
You intended to be back in moments, and you knew she was going out.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
She gave me the keys. Her and the landlord were standing on the pavement, talking, as I got into the car and exited the block. About 5 minutes into the journey after the car, I stopped at the intersection. I tried to engage the shifter to go on. The car wouldn't move. It
All
didn't
right,
respond.
you knew at that point, to make a long story a little shorter, you knew at that point that there was something wrong with the car.
Yes.
What did you do then?
I had a friend who was with me.
Which friend was with you?
A gentleman I picked up.
Just a second. A gentleman you picked up where?
This was on the block of my mother's house. The
Who
street
was
where my
that?
mother lived at.
Who was that?
It was a gentleman named Boo.
Boo.
Right.
Does Boo have a last name?
Boo Rogers, yes he does.
What'd you pick up Boo for?
He was going in the same direction I was coming back. So I was giving him a lift.
So what you're saying to me was you had already been at your mother's house.
Yes.
So you did the errand at your mother's
Yes, I
house
did.
already. You sure about that?
Yes.
Go ahead. And you're on your way back with Boo in the car.
Right.
Go ahead.
The car broke down at the intersection. We both got out. We pushed the car. At that time, I'm not knowing too much about cars. I asked him. He didn't know too much about cars. So I went to a payphone. I called a friend who did know about cars. He came and checked the car out. He told me, Mike...
Why didn't you call her?
Well, at that particular time, I wanted to see what was wrong with the car.
Now listen, Mr. Smith, let's talk logic here, sir. You said you were going to be back in 2 minutes. You knew she was going out. Now you're out for well beyond 2 minutes. You pick up Boo. Then you call one friend. The person that you don't call is the person whose car it is, who has to go out, and you know that she was going out. So I don't understand why you didn't pick up the phone and say, I'm going to try to fix the car. I'm having some trouble with it.
I agree with you.
Good. I'm glad you do. It makes me feel better. Go ahead.
Thank you. So the gentleman came, we looked at the car, and he told me that the clutch was dry. It needed hydraulic clutch fluid.
Okay, so then what did you do?
Well, we tried
Now
to
we're looking for fluid.
Right.
We got Boo and we got fluid.
Exactly.
I tried to get the fluid.
How did you try to get the fluid, sir?
We went to an auto supply store.
And how far away from where the car was?
It was a
that?
distance.
How about how far, sir?
10-minute ride.
How'd you get there?
In his car. The gentleman who came to look at the car, who was a
Just a
mechanic.
minute. Let me understand this. All this time you haven't called her yet?
No, I haven't.
Keep going.
That was it.
And so what'd you do?
Upon not getting the car started, again, I did not call her. I went home. I tried to contact her then.
How did you try to contact her?
By calling her on the phone.
And what happened?
I got no answer.
I'm having too good a time with this, please. So you tried to contact her, you called her, and there was no answer.
Exactly.
So I assume you wrote out a note.
No, I did not.
Because you're right next
No,
door.
I
You
did
wrote
not.
out a note and you say, don't worry about your car, it broke down, here's where it's located. You went and tacked it on a door.
No, I did not.
No, you did not.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The reason why I sued him for that because...
to teach him a lesson.
Yes.
And later today...
So you made trouble between her and her son. You were a pig about the money that you won. You really are nasty.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 39-year-old Vanessa Coleman says Theodore Smith stole her car and returned it 2 days later with extensive damages. Theodore says Vanessa gave him permission to take the car and denies any responsibility for the damage.
It's not really urgently important, Miss Coleman. Listen to me. It's not urgently important whether he drove the car with or without your permission. He's responsible for the damage to your car. Now, I don't think he can look me in the eye and deny that, right, sir?
I agree with you.
Right. So, did you have the car fixed?
Oh, yes.
Let me see the repair bill. When did you finally tell her where the car was?
Never.
I didn't. The car was recovered Sunday morning. I woke up, came out, the car was in front of her house.
Weren't you curious as to how she found it?
Not really. No. No.
I don't understand these bills, Miss Coleman.
Okay,
let's understand.
I don't understand them either,
The short bill is the actual estimate that all the damages that I had done to the car. The other estimate is just for the damage that he did, which was to the clutch and the shifter.
Well, $460. Is that what you paid for the damage that he did?
I paid $945.
Yeah, but you know, you're not talking about a wheel alignment and front brakes.
See, I didn't
and
charge
outer
him.
seats.
I didn't charge him for that. I just charged him for the clutch and the shifter.
But she's suing me for $945.
Just a second.
And the reason why I sued him for that because
to teach him a lesson.
Yes, he denied. he denied to pay me anything except for the $60 he gave me.
He gave you $60?
He gave me $60.
What'd you give her $60 for, sir?
The first day that this had happened and she told me she was putting the car in the shop,
yeah.
I said, okay, I'm going to give you some money to start on. This is initial payment. Give me a receipt and I'll pay the rest gladly.
Yeah. Right.
She never gave me a receipt. She refused to give me a receipt. This happened on...
All right, got it. Listen, Miss Coleman. He has to pay for the damage he did on the car. If I could add on a couple of bucks for bad manners, you know, I would do that, but that's not what we're about.
Yes.
He's got to pay for the damage he did to the car, $460.
Yes.
And I would suggest to you, if you ever made a loan to him of your car or anything else that you value...
Never, Ann.
What?
Never.
Right.
You know it.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Party's not excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
I'll be back to you right.
Thank you.
And now the next case.
Party's on Travis versus Hood. Step forward, please.
Avid bingo player, 57-year-old Fanny Travis, is suing her son's girlfriend, Betty Hood, claiming they made a deal to split a $10,000 bingo jackpot if either of them won. Betty denies they had any agreement.
Miss Travis, you are an avid bingo player.
Yes, I am.
And the defendant used to be your friend.
My son's girlfriend.
According to your complaint, you were playing bingo one night back in August.
Yeah.
And you played together, you and the defendant, and your daughter,
My daughter.
And a couple of other people.
Not the one, not her. She's not here.
Another daughter.
Another daughter.
And then there was advertised a super bingo party for September.
Yes.
And you had to buy packs of $50 worth of bingo cards.
That's right.
So you say you bought packs of cards for several people, including the defendant.
That's right.
And it was your agreement with her that what?
If anybody won, I would get half of the winning.
And then she won.
She won.
$10,000.
Right.
Bingo. She gave you $1,000.
Right.
And said, I'm not giving you any more.
No, she never said that.
What did she say?
The people at the bingo was going to count me the $5,000. You only get $5,000 that night. The next $5,000 we had to come back that Monday. It was on a Saturday night. So they was finna give me the money because the bingo staff knew I had bought all the cards. I told them to count it to her. At the time, they counted out $1,000. She gave me the $1,000, and they gave me the slip and told me to come back Monday and pick up the rest of the money. And in the car, I gave her the slip and told her to wait. Monday, I'll go with you, and I want the rest of my money.
All right, you gave her the slip.
And told her in the car, I gave her the slip and told her I would go with her Monday and pick up the rest of my money.
Okay, so you said, I'll go with you Monday.
And pick up the rest of the money.
Okay, and what happened?
She dodged me all day Monday. I was at bingo waiting on her. She went out late Monday night. Had my grandkids tell me that Dad and Betty told us not to tell you that they gone to bingo. So she went out and picked up the money. When I got my son Monday night on the phone, he made a statement, you made $1,000 profit off of her. I said that was not the agreement. She made a $9,000 profit off of me because we were supposed to split. So that I finally got her Tuesday night and asked her for my money. She said, I spent it. And I said, no, I want my money. You knew it wasn't all yours to spend. Then I called my son. He came up the next day, which was a Tuesday. I went and filed a claim on her. Then my son came up to the house the first time in his 33-year-old life, cursed me like a dog, saying that if I go through with it, he wasn't going to be my son no more.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're not a very nice young lady. She didn't know you would think. Who are you to her? Nobody.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Fanny Travis says she made a deal with Betty Hood that they would split a $10,000 bingo jackpot if either of them won. Betty denies they had any such arrangement and feels she was being generous by giving Fanny $1,000 of her winnings.
Before she got the bingo cards, according to you and according to your daughter, you told her that if you win, half is mine.
Yes.
Is that correct? Before she had the cards in her possession.
Correct.
Okay, Betty, let's hear your version of this.
When she won that $2,500 that night, she was giving me and her daughter $100. And she said out that 100, that 50 go for that package. I did not hear no split winning. And now she's saying for that, when I won the $10,000, that they gave her the receipt, they did not give her the receipt. I signed for that receipt that night. That's the only way that money came to me. I had the receipt in my belongings.
Well, my question is, you say that the previous months, she won some money.
Yes.
And very generously gave you $100. Only gave you $50 in cash and then bought the other packet for the other $50.
Right.
Is that what you're saying? Mm-hmm. Did that happen?
No. I only gave her 50. She didn't even know I was buying these packs. She never knew I was buying these packs until 3 weeks later.
That's very generous of you to give them anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't have to give them anything. Why did you give her $1,000?
Just being generous.
You had a conversation with the plaintiff that night, the night that you won the $10,000, correct?
Correct.
And she made it clear to you,
No,
after
she-
you won, let's
No,
not say before, after you won, that she expected half of your winnings. Is that right?
Correct.
Did you say to her that night, I'm not going to give you half the winnings?
No, I said you must be joking.
No. Let me ask you this question, Miss Hood.
Mm-hmm.
Does this sound familiar? That when you were leaving that night, and she said to you that should anybody win with cards that she bought, there would be a 50-50 split. And you said, we ain't going to win no way anyway. Does that sound familiar to you?
I say that all the time.
I asked you on that night, did that sound familiar to you?
Okay, what was the question again?
You said, we ain't going to win no way anyway.
Right.
Isn't that what you said?
Right.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You're not a very nice young lady, Miss Hood. First of all, you've made trouble between this lady and her son.
No, I did not.
Oh, sure you did. Oh, sure you did. First of all, just by being there that night, by breathing that night in September, you were coming away $5,000 richer. You didn't make an investment. You didn't buy the cards. You didn't plan the evening. Nothing. She gave it to you. And she was generous to you at other times, too. She didn't know you a thing, except that you're the mother of at least one of her grandchildren. So she was being nice to you, and I assume she's a generous lady anyway. So you made trouble between her and her son. You were a pig about the money that you won. Absolutely did the wrong thing. And Miss Hood, life has a strange way of coming up and biting you in the back if you do the wrong thing. What you did over money, by destroying this little family, she had a son who she never had a harsh word with. And I assume she did other things. She ever babysit for you?
Yes.
You had to run to the doctor or something? Had to run someplace else? She took care of your son? Yes?
Yes.
You really are nasty. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff for the amount of $4,000. You already got your $1,000? $4,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the
versus Muniz. Step forward, please.
34-year-old male model Brian Buzzini is suing Charles Muniz, owner of Baby Jane's of Hollywood. Brian is accusing Charles of selling unauthorized photographs of him to his fans.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, it's number 92 on the calendar in the matter of Buzzini versus Muniz. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Buzzini, you say that the defendant has in his possession pictures of you and has been selling them and is not authorized to have them or sell them. You want $5,000 in damages.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why don't you tell me how he came into possession of these pictures and why you think that you're damaged to the tune of $5,000?
Well, Your Honor, my wife had arranged a public appearance with the defendant. I was to appear, and what I was promoting at the time was a couple posters that I had and also a calendar which I'd worked on. It was a project of 2 years. This is one of the pictures that will be in question. The agreement was to appear for approximately 2 hours, which was fine, and I would be signing autographs of the posters, and that's all that I was aware of at the time.
Signing the posters?
Posters, correct.
Are you a model by trade, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
And I do have a portfolio here. This is my livelihood. And
Okay. And Mr. Muniz,
Muniz.
you have a store that's called Baby Jane's of Hollywood?
Yes.
What kind of store is this?
Celebrity collectibles.
And how do you make your money?
Normally selling stills and posters and autographs. We have autograph sessions a couple times a year.
And is this one of those autograph sessions that
Yes.
he arranged for?
Mrs. Bazzini came to us to carry his posters, and she wanted to sell us all the posters. We don't normally stock non-movie posters. So what we agreed with her was we would give him 100% of the money for the poster sales as long as he would sign the other photographs that we had, which were from a Playgirl layout from 1985. He was Man of the Year. But we asked if she could supply us with another photo that was current and that he had clothes on, that we could use at the press and that he could sign at the event.
How many photographs were you supposed to get for you to sell in exchange for letting him come in and sign his posters and sell them?
We printed 50 of each image. There are 3 images.
So you had 150
Yes.
altogether that was supposed to be your property, and you were supposed to keep 100% of the revenues from those?
No, he would get $5 for every signature that he put onto a photo. And if people came in with their own items, like their copies of Playgirl, he would get $5 for that also.
Your Honor, the defendant had mentioned to me prior to me arriving, would you object to signing other photographs if people brought them along? And I said, no, I'll accommodate that, and that's no problem.
Is that relevant?
Yes, it is.
How?
Because halfway during the, not even halfway during, they started bringing pictures that was this picture, which I had no idea at the time that was printed up. This was not to be printed up. This is a project, Your Honor, that is in progress. I have not sold this yet.
Who started bringing those pictures?
Some of the fans that were lining up had a couple, there wasn't many. Most of them were the Playgirl, which I really didn't know that was going to happen either, that they would
Well,
be,
they had to get that picture from someplace, sir.
well, they got it from Mr. Moniz,
Okay.
which I didn't understand.
How did he get that?
I gave him, not this particular picture, a larger, I believe 11 by 14 print. My wife brought it to him to advertise that I would be there on January 11th. Your Honor, this is my livelihood.
Now,
I'll just
Mr.
give you,
Bazzini, I'm trying
I'll
to
give you
understand.
an example.
No, don't give me an example. I'm not
Well,
into,
this is,
listen to me.
okay, ma'am.
Put it down. Put it down.
I'm trying to show you my work, what I do for a lot of money, my livelihood, to raise my children and my family.
Mr. Bazzini, this is a court, sir. Evidently, from your papers, and he acknowledges that you signed a bunch of them quickly, and he kept some of them. Is that correct?
No, they were, he was paid for everything that he signed. There were leftover unsigned ones. So in the interim between the December appearance and today, probably 5 photos have been sold that were unsigned.
And how much did you sell them for?
$15.
A piece?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Bazzini, that's what this lawsuit is about. Those, let us just say they were 5.
Even if it's 1, yes.
Okay. I want you to explain to me how you were damaged for $5,000.
Your Honor, if I can physically show you the type of work that I've done that has brought me, this commercial reel that I have is
Mr.
$1 million.
Bazzini, this is not an opportunity for you to impress me with your work, sir.
No.
Well, I want you to explain to me how you're damaged. You sat at a desk, sir, and signed for $5 a piece the same pictures that he sold unsigned for $15 a piece. So it's not as if you didn't give away those pictures or sell those pictures when you were sitting there. So I don't understand where you come to $5,000, sir.
Ma'am, when I have a letter here, if you will, from my agent that explains what I make per image. My agreement with Mr. Moniz was entirely to promote something, correct? It was
just a minute, Mr. Bazzini, you're not following me. This is not a situation where they're invading your privacy, that they're using unauthorized pictures of you, that they're doing something in an underhanded fashion. They had some leftover pictures. You shouldn't have done that. You acknowledge, sir, that you shouldn't have sold those pictures. That wasn't part of your agreement.
Well, in movie memorabilia, that's what everything is. is the leftover pictures from press kits. And
I know, but was it your understanding with his wife that you could keep those?
I understood that we could. If it was a problem, he's more than, I mean, we could love to destroy the photos for you.
You want to say something?
I'm the co-owner of Baby Jane of Hollywood.
Roy Wyndham.
Yes.
And our entire agreement with Mr. Bazzini appearing was through his wife. We never once talked to Mr. Bazzini on the phone before the signing.
That's a lie.
I kept asking the wife, actually talking to a machine, saying that we need a current photograph for the day of the signing, and we needed a current photograph of him so we could advertise it, because the photograph that we had was him nude. And we can't advertise those in local newspapers.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think your ego maybe is a little too big. You know, our story is Baby Jane of Hollywood, not Brian Bazzini of Hollywood.
And later today,
I don't think that once you pass the age of 2 or 3, you ought to show your rear end in public. So you keep the photographs. Yes, I will.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 34-year-old model Brian Bazzini is suing the owner of Baby Jane's of Hollywood, Charles Muniz, for selling unauthorized photographs. Mr. Muniz says it was an oversight and not done out of malice.
We're talking about the leftover pictures, pictures that you made extra of that were not used at the signing.
Correct.
That he is angry about because he said he was not paid for those pictures.
We paid for everything to be printed. We paid for everything to be made. And when he came in, everything was available for customers to purchase that day. And he saw the quantity that we had of each.
So?
And the remainder was there to be sold.
Well, but that's what he's saying. He's saying it was not his understanding that the remainder was going to stay with you to be sold. Is that what you're complaining
Honor,
about?
I didn't even know that these pictures existed. And if you could put yourself in the situation, you have
Where's
100
your wife?
people in line.
Where's your wife?
My wife was with my children.
Just a second.
She was 9 months pregnant.
Where's your wife
at the time.
today?
Today she's with my daughter at the doctor.
Mr. Bazzini.
Well, I think
You want to tell me what doctor it is? I'll give him a call.
Oh, I don't know.
Huh? I'm good at that. You want to tell me what doctor? Your wife was there and your wife was the one who negotiated with these people what they were supposed to do. We haven't. Why don't you sit down?
I have a picture here that he signed. This is a photograph that he's complaining about. They autographed to me the day of the signing, so he knew that we had available in the store. He knew they were sold.
After the fact, Your Honor. After the fact, I'm sitting there with 100 people in line.
Hospitality.
Sit down, sir.
Your
We're
Honor,
reaching a point, sir, where I'm getting frustrated because...
I'm getting frustrated also. I have 100 people in line. I can't stop it. I'll look like a damn prima donna. Pardon me. I look like a prima donna. I mean, what am I supposed to do? These pictures are starting to come. It's my understanding that I'm selling posters. I've traveled all over the world, and if you'd allow me to show you something, I could give you an idea of what I make.
Sir,
I make $5,000
This is not an opportunity
per appearance. Not $5. I was doing that more as a favor and to get something circulated.
Mr. Bazzini,
with a new
you're full of baloney. Let me tell you why you're full of baloney, sir.
I've got letters.
Let me tell you why you're full of baloney, sir. You're full of baloney, A, because your wife entered into these negotiations. You did not. Your wife is not here today. There's a reason for it, and it's not because she's with the doctor with your child. 2, you still haven't told me today why you believe you're entitled to $5,000. Your complaint is that he sold the pictures without your autograph, 5 of them, and you say that you're damaged to the tune of $5,000 when you sat there yourself and signed the same pictures for $5 a piece.
Can I clarify something?
Go ahead.
I questioned it the first time this picture was presented to me to sign. I said, this is a project. I don't want this picture out. That's like revealing the cover of your book to the public before people see it. I questioned it. They said it's for a few of your wonderful fans or your best fans. Somebody said that, and I said, how do you define who's the best fan here? And I said, okay, fine. I mean, I'm sitting there in front of a bunch of people, ma'am. I don't want to make a ruckus.
Just a second. So you said, okay, fine, and you signed them.
The alternative was to walk out. Does that make me look? That doesn't make me look too great in front of people that sat in line for me, Your Honor.
Listen to me, sir.
I mean,
that's your option. If they presented you with pictures and you didn't want to sign them, you could have said, I'm not signing those. I'm just signing my posters, or I'll sign the photographs that people come with.
Well, that's good publicity.
Fine. You sold 5 pictures of him?
Yes.
And you sold them for $15 a piece?
Yes. Ma'am, can I just show you a letter from my agent?
No.
to give you an idea. I mean,
Absolutely not. I'm not
I
interested
have
in a letter
work
from your
here
agent.
that is billboards all over the world for 5, 10, 20 grand.
Mr.
And
Buzzini, how much did you make for the...
present that.
Hey,
Pardon me?
how much did you make for the whole day?
Somewhere around $700-800.
That's not $5,000, sir. So it seems that at least on some occasions you work for less than $5,000 a day. The judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $75, which is the amount of the 5 pictures, the most that you sold. Fares at $15 a piece. That's all.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
No witness. If everybody could just take a damn picture of me, then I guess I wouldn't have much of a profession. That's like having vigilantes do the work for Judge Judy. Guess she'd be out of a job, wouldn't she? Might be a good idea.
And now the next case.
Parties on McKenzie versus Cooper. Step forward, please.
62-year-old Betty McKenzie says 72-year-old Lonnie Cooper knocked her to the floor while she was in line at her bank. Lonnie says it was Betty who did the shoving.
So you two people are online in a bank. You never saw each other before, is that right?
That's right.
You say this nice gentleman over here assaulted you. He says that you assaulted him. I can hardly believe that, looking at the two of you. So, Miss McKenzie, let me hear your version of what happened at this bank.
Okay. He was on my right.
You're online?
Yes, I'm in the line. He was on the right.
What was he doing on the right?
He was at a teller.
He was at the teller?
He was at the teller.
So he was in front of you and to the right?
That's right. I was getting ready, the man was getting ready to come out to teller on my left. The man dropped a piece of paper.
Which man dropped a piece of paper?
The man that was coming out to teller on my left.
So what happened?
I told him he dropped a piece of paper. He said, forget it. And he walked on out the door. The man on my right, he gonna come in front of me to pick up the piece of paper with his right hand.
That's this gentleman?
Yes, and take his left hand and knock me to the floor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your lawyer thought you were going to be able to get a lot of money from the bank. And it wasn't the bank's fault because Mr. Cooper had bad manners.
Yeah.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 62-year-old Betty McKenzie says while standing in line at her bank, 72-year-old Lonnie Cooper knocked her to the floor. Mr. Cooper denies any wrongdoing and claims Ms. McKenzie was the one who caused the disturbance.
Mr. Cooper?
Yeah. In the first place, it was on the right-hand side of the teller. And the fellow, the elderly gentleman in front of me, dropped most of his stuff. And I reached down to try to help him. And she busted on past. And I did this to her. I didn't know what it was. And in turn, she wound up over in there.
What do you mean, Mr. Cooper? She brushed on past you.
Well, she was behind me, so she didn't have no business in front of me.
Just a second. What do you mean she brushed on past you, Mr. Cooper?
Yeah, just like that. And
who is this?
It's a witness.
Is that your witness?
Character witness.
I'm not interested in a character witness. I assume that you're both characters. Because anybody who can get involved in this has got to be a character. Now listen to me. You stand up for a second. I want you to show me how she brushed on past you.
Come on. See
You're her. So tell me, show me what she did to you.
The elderly gentleman was up front.
Right.
And I was here and trying to help him with his stuff.
Right.
And then she come past me, and I shoved her like that, and she went over into the...
Right.
See, she was behind me.
I understand that, sir. Mr. Cooper, step back to where the microphone is. Sit down. Mr. Cooper, why did you push her?
She came, brushed past. I told you I was standing in front, trying to help the fella, which the paper was on the floor.
Why did you push her?
I didn't push. She came past just like that.
No, you pushed her. You just told me that you pushed her.
But it was on the right-hand side.
I don't care if right, left, middle. It doesn't make any difference, Mr. Cooper. You pushed this lady down. You had no right to do that, sir.
Well?
Yes, that's what you told me. You told me that you pushed her. And she fell. She's not 12 years old. You pushed the lady, she fell down.
Go around pushing women.
Well, but you did push her,
if she had
sir.
acted like a lady and stayed in the line like she's supposed to, this would never be happening.
Mr. Cooper, you are not... Shh.
Order.
Mr. Cooper, you are not a behavior monitor. a bank behavior monitor. If she did something wrong, you might have said something to her, but you had no right to push her. Now, Miss McKenzie, my question to you is
I didn't intend to push her. I wouldn't have to push her if she had stayed back there where she was supposed to be.
Okay. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Cooper. You're not following me, sir.
Okay.
Miss McKenzie, you say you were injured.
Yes,
How were
I
you
was.
injured, madam?
Like I said, he pushed me to the floor hard. My ear, my back, my legs, I got photos of it.
Can I see it, please? Ooh, that's a nasty. That's just between you and me, okay? Do you have doctor's reports?
Yes, I do.
May I see them, please? I don't think that once you pass the age of 2 or 3, you ought to show your rear end in public. I mean, that's a... So you keep the photographs.
Yes, I will.
How will she get past me if I'm in front of her?
Mr. Cooper, stop being a nudnik.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You had medical bills of $2,645?
That's one of them.
When did this incident occur? What date?
The 4th of March.
This wouldn't have happened if she had been a lady and stayed back there where she was supposed to be, but she wanted to be bullheaded.
Mr. Cooper, she has a lot of medical bills here, and you did the wrong thing. You have medical bills that are about $3,000, $4,000. Were any of them reimbursed by your insurance?
No.
Why not?
I had got a lawyer at first, but he had thought it was the bank. And then when he found out it wasn't the bank, then I
Then
had
he
to take it
dropped
on my... Yes.
Don't you have medical insurance?
I had Medicaid.
Did you submit these bills to Medicaid?
No, well, my doctor had told me not to do that.
Your doctor told you not to do that because your lawyer thought he was going to be able to work up a big medical bill so that you were going to be able to get a lot of money from the bank. Right. And it wasn't the bank's fault because Mr. Cooper had bad manners.
Yeah.
But I think, Mr. Cooper, that what you did to this lady was wrong, and she suffered for months as a result of your pushing her. She's suing for $5,000. That's what I'm giving her, $5,000, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Out the back door to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.